Hello friends and welcome to the Cold War Prepper. My name is Lee. Today I would like to share with you three areas. Number one, some concerns that I have with what's going on in the world, especially here in the U.S. Number two, my observations of a trip I took out shopping today. And then at the end, some of the steps I'm taking, what I did today in order to make up for some of the things I'm seeing in step one. So, the first thing, of course, has to be the diesel shortage. It's got to be a concern to everybody. It appears, according to some of the online diesel trucking industry magazines and websites and everything else, it appears that they're predicting diesel rationing along the I-95 corridor from North Carolina up to New York as early as the 20th of May and as late as the end of June. Now, that's every product you see anywhere at some point was on a diesel truck. So as we reduce the amount of diesel available for trucking, then that's going to reduce the amount of items that are on the shelves at any of the stores. It also, if you've ever been to a gas station when they were filling up the tanks, you notice that it's by a diesel truck. So if you reduce the amount of diesel, then that means that there may not be gas deliveries to your local gas station as frequently as you're used to. The other thing is that diesel powers our trains. So all of our long distance trains are diesel electric. So you have a diesel generator, it powers an electric motor, the electric motor drives the train. Well, that's going to involve a lot of supply chain management from coast to coast, etc. But my big concern is when I was HR manager for a electric power distribution company, I had a chance to meet with the power plant general manager, and we owned the power plant. And we were talking, it was a coal-fired plant. And he has 3 train loads of coal a week to keep that power plant running. So if we reduce the amount of diesel, what's that going to do to the transportation of coal from the East Coast down here to Texas to keep our coal-powered plants running? Now, 20% of all the electric production in Texas is by coal. So, that could be a very important fact for everybody to realize, is that there could be some sort of brownouts, blackouts, etc. So that kind of transitions us into the second thing that has me of great concern, and that is the fragility of our electric production, transmission, and distribution. So we've already talked about the reduction possibly of coal being delivered to the coal-powered plants. But in the last week, in the last 10 days, we've had 6 power plants go offline here in Texas. And now we've had 5 days out of the last 8 that were 98 degrees or 99 degrees. Unseasonably warm here in Texas. That, of course, means that there's a lot more air conditioners coming up. The demand is going up as the production is going down, and that puts a strain on the system, and pretty soon we're going to have rolling blackouts or rolling brownouts. I am relatively certain of that. Then, of course, we had the 6 go offline. Now, we've also had a fire just a week ago, yesterday, at a production facility in Fort Bend County, which is just west of Harris County, and that is Houston. And so a friend called me and said, "Have you seen this?" And I took a look at it and said, "No, I haven't," but I looked into it. Now, what's kind of strange, and maybe it's just because it's a newer facility, a newer portion of the facility, but it has 8 generators, and generator number 8 is the one that caught on fire, and it's going to be down for quite a while they repair it. But anyhow, so 8 generators, and 100%, that's 12.5% per generator. But the article said that this one generator produced 18%, or basically 1/6 of all the power coming out of that power plant. So must be a better efficiency, better effectiveness type of a facility. But Houston has lost 20% of one power plant's electric production. So, as we get into the warmer seasons and as we have a bigger draw on electricity, we're getting less and less production of electricity. And that's a big concern as well. Now, let's take that and extend it up into the Pacific Northwest. And we've got this 1,200-year drought that's going from Washington across to western Montana and then straight down into Colorado, Utah, Nevada, California, Arizona, New Mexico. I'm surprised that the far western 3 counties of Texas, El Paso, Culberson, and Oh, what's the other one? Oh, well. Anyhow, the three far western counties of Texas, I'm surprised that they aren't in this 1,200-year drought as well. I grew up in El Paso, so I learned how to fish on the Rio Grande. And just northwest of El Paso, there are two dams and two lakes, the Caballo and Elephant Butte. Now, Elephant Butte is where I learned how to catfish, and beautiful catfish. But from what I understand, they are almost at the point where they can no longer produce power. They're at low water marks as far as being able to put water through the turbines to produce the electric power. So that's where a lot of the electricity for El Paso comes from. So they're affected by the drought as well. Now, if we take a look up northwest, the Glen Canyon Dam as well as the Hoover Dam and Lake Mead, those are all significantly low in their water. And so they're almost to the point where they can no longer produce electricity. So it looks like we're going to have critical power shortages here in the very near future if we don't get some rain in the very near future. So that's another concern, is this power and the uncertainty of it being available to us. And then a third concern, kind of combined with that, is we've got this 1,200-year drought, which means we've got some food production issues. And so we already know that we're not going to have the same yield in wheat, corn, soybean. Well, soybeans are starting to come up, but even though we don't use them that much, simply because the farmers can get some sort of a cash crop that they can get out to other countries who do use it. But a lot of the stuff that we use as staples here in the U.S. is not going to be planted. I saw an interview with the president of the African American Farmers Association. I think he's out of South Carolina, and he was talking about how upset he was that we would give $40 billion in aid to a European country, but he can't get aid to pay for the diesel to plant his seeds, or he can't get any aid to get fertilizer once they're put in to make sure that they grow. And then if they do, with this drought that's going on in the West, will they even have the water to grow the crops that we need? So what we see is we probably see critical shortages of food sometime beginning at the end of this summer. Now, there's a domino effect with this, because remember that a lot of the grasses and grains are used to feed our livestock, and so if you don't have the food for the livestock, then of course your livestock capability is going to go down as well. Remember, we had a whole bunch of euthanized animals during the lockdown, especially in beef and in chickens. They were euthanizing them because they just could not get them to market, and they couldn't get the necessary feed to keep them well fed. So that's going to be an issue as well. I'm predicting my next major shortage, I predict, is going to be potatoes out of Idaho, eastern Oregon, eastern Washington, western Montana, and northern Utah. So that brings us kind of my observations, what I've seen here as I went out today. Everybody was out. First, I went to Murphy's to gas up my wife's car. I don't like it being down below 3/4 of a tank. I don't like any of our vehicles being below 3/4 of a tank. It used to be a half, but in the last month or so, I've gone up to since the war started, I've gone up to 3/4 of a tank. I don't like to get below 3/4 of a tank. So I went to Murphy's. Had to wait. I was number 4 in line for this set of pumps. It was busier than all get out. I think everybody was filling up. Then I had to drive around Walmart twice to find a parking space, and went inside, and I got the last 2 bottles of hydrogen peroxide so I can disinfect my water jugs. I started going through. There was no flour. There was no cornmeal. I got the last 2 packages of dry yeast. There was no instant or powdered milk. There was no shelf-stable milk. Dry packaged items, rice, beans were low. For some reason, pasta was loaded. I've never seen that much pasta in the last 3 or 4 months, but they had a whole bunch of pasta. People were in there, and they were loading up their carts. I think that we're right at the beginning of that panic stage for a lot of people, which is why I say come up with a plan and follow your plan. Don't panic. Don't keep other people from having food. But just have a plan and what are you going to do to take care of it. Now, because of the power outages, now we have solar with battery backup here. We have a 5 kW gas generator. We have a 5 kW outdoor emergency solar generator. We have 2 panels that are backpack panels that can charge cell phones and everything else we need as we're hiking if we have to bug out. And then we have 2 little bitty handheld, about the size of an iPhone, cell phone or solar chargers. And so because of that, today at Walmart they had USB chargeable fans. So I got 2 USB chargeable fans, and we'll use those here if everything else fails to keep us cool here in the 100+ degree weather. I got a 110 low wattage fan that we can use as well. So I try and take care of the temperature control as well as the other things. And then, like I said, I think potatoes are going to be the key issue. So I wanted to stock up on potato things. So we got the scallop potatoes and the potatoes au gratin. Now, I've used potatoes au gratin that were 5 years old from my pantry, and no problems whatsoever. So I don't know if that's an anomaly or not, but I haven't repackaged any of those. And but the oldest one I've ever used was 5 years old. We used these when I had my disaster response trailer, and we served the people during Rita, Wilma, Katrina, and several other disasters here in the area. So that's great, and you can use it in so many different ways. I don't know if it's freeze-dried or dehydrated, but it's just instant potatoes, instant hash browns. I like the German potato salad by Reed, so I picked up another can of that. And then there was no great value brand instant potatoes. The only thing you can get is a brand name potatoes. I like these smaller packages. I prefer to get them without any of the additives to it. I just prefer straight potato buds. They didn't have any of the straight potato buds. Everything they had some sort of flavoring with it. I prefer these smaller packages. You know me, I prefer smaller packages, so if necessary I can give it away to somebody who's in need. But this also has the great seal on it, so you can keep it for a little bit longer. And then the one thing that was strange that was sold out was canned potatoes. So I like the whole potatoes, the sliced potatoes, and the diced potatoes, and but there weren't any of those, so that's why I pulled one out of the pantry just to show you what it looks like. But I'm getting a whole bunch of potato type stuff, and that's what I'm focusing on. So just to give you an idea of what's happening here in the greater Austin suburbia, and what I'm doing about that in order to try to take care of it. So do me a favor, come up with a plan, adjust your plan, take these things into consideration, get out there and take care of what you need to take care of. Don't go into debt or anything else. Don't do anything stupid. Don't panic. Just come up with a plan. Follow your plan. Remember, we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Take care. Bye-bye.